Hello and welcome again. I thought that I would continue my saga of this journey through these videos about psychic phenomenon, psychic development. Just in case you're wondering, this picture behind me is actually a road in the north of Spain. One of the tours I led was something called the Camino de Santiago, which is a walk, a spiritual walk. And we walked down this road, and I've loved this picture for a long time. So I think if you've been looking at the other videos at this juncture, you've got a pretty clear idea that I've spent a lot of years not only working on understanding my own psychic ability, but also developing it. One of the things that you will find me continually saying and repeating is this idea that everyone is psychic. It's just to what degree, and then to what degree they're aware. We all have that psychic ability, but we use it in different ways. And I've used examples of that in the past. I'll give you one today. I actually had a client years ago who was a very successful stockbroker on Wall Street, and he came to me to work on fine-tuning basically his own psychic ability, because what he found himself capable of doing was he got a great psychic hit on what to buy and when to buy it, but he in turn couldn't find that same combination of energies or impulses psychically to know when to sell. So he worked with me for a couple of years. And then, of course, as a lot of clients do, disappeared because he had achieved what he was looking for. So there's an example. One of the things that I continually stress when I'm in a group setting and talking about developing psychic ability is reminding everyone that we have 5 physical senses and we have a corresponding 5 psychic senses. So we can hear, touch, taste, smell, and feel, and those correspond from a psychic standpoint. So that over time, for an example, in my life, there have been times that my psychic seeing, which is clairvoyance, was much stronger than any of my other psychic senses. I also have had experiences with, psychic hearing, which is clairaudience, and obviously feeling is clairsentience, which a lot of times in the classes that I taught, what we did was work with that, the clairsentient piece. It's pretty standard type of a technique that is utilized. So there's something to really keep thinking about. How is my psychic ability operating? When do I know that it's operating? How do I quantify and qualify it? And again, if you've watched the other videos I've done that lead up to this one, you know that I talk about these issues again and again. To me, the most important thing that I can do, not only in my own life, but in the life of someone else, is to not only quantify and qualify energy for them, which then results in helping them make the best decisions in their life. That's what my work is about. I always say and stress that my work is about the idea that I can provide some different view or look at someone's life so that they ultimately can make the best decisions in their life. So that's my goal. That's always my goal in my work. So when we get to that idea, it's really on my part, what have I done to describe, to be able to give them an idea of, for an example, how strong an energy is. And that's really, again, on my part, that's my responsibility and my duty. And somewhere down the line, we'll keep talking and we'll talk more about how that happens. How do we really train, so to speak, so that our ability is more fine-tuned? The other part that I'd like to talk about today, and this is the one that really, even after all these years, I have to be honest with you, it still tends to be an issue for me. When we're working in the psychic realm, we have to remember that the psychic realm is of the invisible world. So it's beyond the physical. How we know what's going on in that world is by association with what we know in the physical world. I remember in one of the other videos, I talked about the fact that somebody came to me and their experience was beyond anything I had any experience in. And all I could do was describe it, ask them if it was correct, if they understood what I was saying, because I had no idea of what I was talking about because I just hadn't had the experience. So in any event, to go back to this whole idea of, the invisible world, we really have to work on overcoming our training from young about the physical world, that if it doesn't exist in the physical world, if you can't see it, touch it, taste it, smell it, hear it, it's not real and it doesn't exist. So there's a leap that some of us have to take, not everybody. A lot of people can just really jump over. But, again, I always talk about the fact that my work is really in both worlds. And sometimes I'm in the other world when I should be in this world, and I'm in this world when I should be in the other world. So it's literally, again, a continuing effort for us to identify where we are and what we're doing and what the energy is and how do we quantify and qualify it. My support of anybody is that if you start thinking about this, you'll start looking for ways to identify what I'm talking about. For an example, how strong is the psychic energy? Where is the psychic energy? How am I receiving it? And that beginning the conversation is ultimately what brings it into reality for it. I'll just put it that way. But the whole thing about starting to work in the invisible world is pretty dicey, because a lot of times there are things that go on and happen that we really can't completely describe or explain in terms of the physical world. I always recommend that we keep a journal. You can call it a spiritual journal, you can call it a psychic journal, whatever it is, but you're keeping that journal to log the experiences you're having, because what happens when we have one of those moments is we start to walk away from it and our conscious brain says, that never happened, I can't believe it did. And we start to literally destroy the gift that we were given. So I encourage people to start writing down the things that they start to receive, and the information that they get or the pictures they get, those kinds of things. A lot of people talk about deja vu. They feel like they've been somewhere before. And for me, the psychic issue is that we can really, even for ourselves, get far down the road. That then when we come to that time, it feels like we know where we are, when really what happened was we had a psychic hit. We had that input. We received that information and saw what was coming and at what time. I think I may have already told this story, but I bought myself a new car, and I sat in the car and turned the key one day and I saw a terrible car crash. To make a long story short, I denied it. I didn't believe that, I was like really arrogant, the work I do wouldn't let that happen to me. And sure enough, toward the end of the day, I had a near fatal automobile accident. So there's sometimes that we get those kinds of bits of information. But the more that we do our work, the more we find ourselves consciously aware in the invisible world. And there's so much documentation about this, and so many wonderful writings by people who literally have had extensive experience in the invisible world to then come back and bring beautiful spiritual messages, spiritual teachings from those worlds for the rest of us who maybe have not had that experience and have found ourselves really hungry for the information somebody else is bringing back. So that's my thoughts for today. I just wanted to make it brief. That was on my mind. I took my walk this morning and I was like, I got to talk about the visible and the invisible world. That really can be an issue for allowing this part of us to unfold to the fullest that we will allow ourselves to do. There can be a lot of things in the subconscious mind that keep us from that. As you know from the videos, I tell a lot of stories. One of the stories that I often tell was that I used to do these visualizations about leaving the earth and going off into space. And, it was really powerful work that I was doing, but I had trouble because in my mind, I wouldn't be able to breathe beyond the earth plane. So I was always struggling, right, to leave the physical, to go to that invisible plane because of some of the conditioning that existed in my physical body. So look, I hope these are helpful. I hope that creating some questions for you, that in your own time and in your own place, you're doing your work and learning about these parts of you. I'm not just an advocate of learning to do readings for other people. I'm really more of an advocate of this work on a spiritual level, meaning that we can really intensify our own life and spiritual experiences by intensifying this part of who we are. So again, as always, I hope that you found this valuable. Please subscribe, and I will look forward to seeing you again. This week, I'm going to be doing some exciting videos with other psychics. So please look forward to seeing those. And I hope wherever you are today, you're having a wonderful day. And thanks for listening.